Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Strictly Healthy. Sorry for the delay. We had some technical issues, but I think we've got it sorted now. So anyway, we want to welcome you. Now, this is a show that talks about all aspects affecting our health, and we do this with the help of various experts. And today we have we're talking about physical health today with Kristina Grabnickas. She's a nurse practitioner from the University of Central Florida. And she has been very influential in making good sleep a priority for the nurses and the medical profession there. So I want to welcome Kristina to the studio. Welcome, Kristina.
Hi, Linda. Welcome. Yes.
Welcome to the studio, and thank you for joining me today. We had a few technical issues there, but
Yeah.
I think we got it sorted now, so
Yes.
that's good. That's very good. So just share with people a little bit about your backstory and your journey, etc. I guess we've got to be quicker now because
Yes.
time is moving
Well,
on. So
sure. Long story short, I am a nurse practitioner and I started here 20 years ago at the University of Central Florida. We're in Orlando, right? We're Disney Mickey Mouse houses. So we're
right.
pretty busy. We have over 60,000 students. And the students would come to me asking for sleeping pills. So I developed a program about a decade ago, 10 years
Mhm.
ago, good sleep, getting a good night's sleep. And Knight was the mascot with the shining armor. So I spelt it Knight. And
Oh,
I
right.
used to go to all the dormitories and make sure that all the students would get their good sleep tips, and then I would help them. And we did some studies that they got better grades and they retained better. They were less likely to go to addictions and habits and alcohol and things like that would be, lulling them to sleep. So, and making
Mhm.
it worse. So there's a
Mm.
lot of good outcomes, plus safety reasons. You don't want them driving when they're sleepy. So it
Exactly.
really benefited not only the students, but the faculty and staff. And I extended it and then to nurses and the nursing students, PhD students, nurses that work in the hospitals,
Mhm.
shift change and shift work. And then I was promoted to the medical school clinic and I developed a program for the medical students in sleep. And I call it Good Sleep, Good Health, Good Life. So
Yes.
with that, I have a YouTube channel and I started venturing out to lay people and people in the public, teachers, nurses, firemen, counselors, psychologists,
Mhm.
coaches, life coaches, policemen, people that help others don't really take care of themselves. And with your program,
Yeah.
which is really wonderful, you're promoting health and you're teaching people how to really take care of yourself because sleep is one
Sure.
of the top three pillars of life and health,
Mhm.
along with diet and
Indeed.
exercise, but it's easier.
Yeah,
So,
sure. I just want to go back for a second there because I'm part of a fibromyalgia group, and many of them say they're struggling to get good sleep, and they take painkillers. Now, would you recommend painkillers to help
well,
with sleep?
Linda, it's hard because people with cancer, immune disorder, arthritis, my mother has severe osteoarthritis. You may take painkillers because it will help block the pain. There are some natural
Sorry,
healing that
not
you can do.
I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Not painkillers, sleeping pills they were using.
Sleeping pills. Well,
Sleeping
along with
pills.
the
Sorry.
painkillers, you do have to realize that that's a good point because painkillers and sleeping aids can accentuate and make it worse. So you're also getting double the demon, if you will.
Mm,
So sleeping pills actually kind of shut the brain off. Um, I recommend sleeping pills if you're really going through some crisis. Let's say you're having to go to a funeral the next day of a family member, or you've just been through. Some people have some health issues that are pretty significant, or they're going through some mental crisis, and
mm,
then it is appropriate. But to go on sleeping pills daily, that
mhm.
is something that I'm trying to avoid only because it does affect your mind
Yeah.
and your brain in the long term with
So
Alzheimer's.
it's
You
it's
know,
not something you recommend for long term, just as
correct,
a just a
chronic
short-term
usage.
thing.
Correct, because so many people that have shift changes, like pilots and stewardesses, and there's so many people out there that work night shift and red eyes and everything, that you have to learn the sleep hygiene tips, because that's going to get you through all of those things instead of depending on a pill. Right.
Okay. All right. So, now, just one other question before we get into your tips. How did you manage to influence the staff and the people there to get the sleep pods? That was of
Oh,
interest
right.
to me.
So, but the sleep pods were interesting. I started researching sleep about 2009, and I ran into a person that was developing them for Google and for JFK, the airports and huge corporations that were using sleep pods for their employees,
Mm,
and very few universities had it. So I thought the medical school would be a perfect place. So we had it, two of them from the Metro Nap pods, and they're based in New York, and I believe he's got a base at the UK. And there's also, they're pretty much all over the world, and they're put in a place, and you have 20-minute time naps. We did a
mhm,
research study a couple of years ago that showed that indeed their grades did improve with medical students. So
mhm.
um, naps do work, but it has to be at a certain time. It can't be
And and
too lengthy.
why do naps work as opposed to, say, taking an hour or 2 hours during the day or whatever? Why is
So
20
it,
minutes ideal?
So the 20 minutes shows, because you can't, there are certain cycles before getting into medical terminology in the brain and how it works. There's 5 stages of sleep, and each stage is 90 minutes. So you have to have that good balance. So if you don't get the correct amount of sleep, which is REM and non-REM, it's going to mess up your cycle. So you don't want to go past 20 minutes, because that's going to put you in a negative state, and you're not going to get the quality. People often tell me I'm sleeping, and I go to bed, I get 8, 9 hours, but I wake up groggy. Well, that's
Mm,
why you're not getting the good quality sleep, the REM
mm,
and the non-REM. And those are all
okay.
complicated patterns in the brain that we can spend another show talking about, because it's very complex.
Sure, sure. Well, it may be that I have to have you on again,
Yeah,
but
sure.
let's just go into it a little bit now about your tips, your
Yeah.
on how we can go about getting good sleep hygiene.
What I want people to realize is the most important thing is prioritize your sleep. If you get anything from this interview, I want you to remember to prioritize it. You make sleep important. It's as important as diet and exercise, but it's easier. And it's so important because it affects your mind, your health, your longevity, your skin, um,
Your
your
health, of course.
memory, your relationships. It has so much. And now it's even linked to, sleep deprivation is linked to Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
It is linked to cancer. That's scary. It's
Wow.
linked
Yeah.
to obesity. People
Hmm.
eat carbs when they're not sleeping at night, and insomniacs. Um, it's linked to high blood pressure. It's linked to heart disease. It's linked to so many different um, patterns in the brain to stimulate anxiety or depression. So
Sure.
there's so much negatives from sleep deprivation. To remember to put sleep as a priority, I want you to do that. That's number one. Number
Number
two is
one.
establish a go to sleep pattern. So that means waking up at the same time every day as much as you can, going to bed at the same time every night as much as you can, to the close by. And
Mm,
try that for 2 weeks. I want you to do that. That will establish a circadian rhythm with your mind and your body. Another tip would be shut everything down an hour before. Ideally, you want to go to bed before midnight. So, ideally, you're getting the good quality sleep before midnight. So, let's say you go to bed at 10, start unwinding about 9, and shut the TV off, shut your tablet, your phone. Those are all stimuli, and you have to shut them off. And what
mm.
I mean by shutting off is literally shutting the thing off, because you don't want blue light into your mind. Blue light
What do you
actually,
think? what do you think about wearing blue light blocking glasses?
You
Do you
can
think
do that, but what it's more important to shut everything off because your mind has to prepare for sleep.
sure?
So, and that also means relaxation tips, which would be meditation, listening to beautiful music, relaxation. There are calm apps, there are apps for sleep. You can do white noise, you can do fans, you can have, maybe some rain falling, or some people love crickets or beautiful waves crashing. And lighting is important. You do not want light in your bedroom. Your bedroom's your sanctuary. You want to keep
Yeah.
it cool and dark. That's
Mhm.
another thing. The pineal gland will sense a nightlight, and that will disturb the good sleep. So, those are really important. Shutting off everything off an hour before, getting a hot cup of tea, maybe some chamomile, lavender, infused. You can use aromatherapy, which I believe in, getting a
Mm.
warm bath or a warm shower that lowers your body temperature, which gets you prepared for sleep. There's a lot of things aesthetically and physically that you can do that will get you prepared for sleep. And once you have a ritual like brushing your teeth, putting on your pajamas, or your mind will sync that it is time for you to start thinking about sleeping, right?
Mm.
And you do, if you have a lot of things to do in the day. I know, Linda, you are so busy, and I can just tell that your program, you've got wonderful speakers on, and you've got to prepare. I know for you, this would help is you write everything down on a pad and you shut everything off that way,
I
because you
do
have
do that
so much to
actually.
remember.
Mm.
I
Mm.
had to do that. I write sticky notes and I put it away. I've got this, a certain agenda the next day to
Mhm.
accomplish. So you can't store everything here, because when you lay down, you know everything's going to be clicking, right? And you're going to
Yeah.
stare at the ceiling. So shut everything down, which means writing it down, putting it away.
Mm.
So you don't want to overdo with naps. We talked about that. That's 20
Mhm.
minutes. A
Mhm.
nightly routine is the most important thing to remember. Keeping the
Mhm.
bedroom cool and dark. Shutting off caffeine at 3 p.m. You don't want to have caffeine after 3 p.m. That's also in the research showing that that will promote good sleep.
Mhm.
Exercise is super important, at least 20 minutes to 30 minutes a day. That will improve your sleep. Um, Melatonin, actually, if you get some sun in the morning, it resets your melatonin and it resets your circadian clock. So that really helps. So you've got two things you can accomplish: exercise and sunlight in the daytime.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
those two
So
things
you
go hand in hand.
recommend doing those things the early part of the day, like in the morning?
Absolutely. The first thing
Mm.
in the day when you drive to work, if you can get sun, or use sunling lamps during the winter,
Mm.
the light is super important. Vitamin D is super important for
Mhm.
improves fatigue. I have
Mhm.
a lot of patients on vitamin D, and I take it myself. So it's improved my overall health, especially older women that have hormonal issues, and at night you
Mhm.
have night sweats or menopause, and that's a whole different show we can
Yeah,
get into,
we could
because
go a
that,
long time on that one.
I mean, women and menopause and anxiety, we could talk about that, but I know we got to cut this short. I'm just going to hit you with the really top tips right now.
Yeah,
So
sure, sure.
alcohol,
And
you
you'll
want to
you'll give
you
me
want
a PDF file that I can share with people as well,
yes,
won't you? Okay.
absolutely, I will,
And we'll get your
absolutely.
website link and so on later on.
Sure, it's all
Okay,
on my website. Yeah. Hmm.
good.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I interrupted you. Carry on
No, it's
with
okay.
your
I was gonna touch on alcohol, where people think that, having a glass of sherry or wine to unwind at night, it's okay, but make sure you don't do it too close to bedtime, because what happens is it disturbs that rhythm again, and it robs you of that good quality stage where you have to get the 90 minutes of good, the non-REM and the REM sleep. REM
sure.
sleep, we actually dream in color. I didn't know if you knew that.
I
And that's
didn't.
where, yeah. And we also, REM is very important for memory consolidation. So if you're learning a new language, if you're going to be teaching, if you're going to be retaining things for an exam, or even if you're trying to, remember things at work. If you're learning new tasks, it's super important to get the REM sleep, and that's like an hour or two before you wake up. So you never want to wake somebody up before they're, to disturb them, because that will actually, kind of blank their brain out. You don't want to do that. So it's important.
Right. And what sort of time of day do you normally get this REM sleep?
So
Or how
this
many
is
hours
usually
after you've gone to
right before you wake up. It's about an hour or two before you wake up. So if you're waking up at 7, it's like 5 in the morning. So you don't want to be looking at the alarm clock. Turn that off. Turn it the other way. You do not want to eat in bed, read in bed, watch TV in bed. Bed is sleep, signifies sleep. So
But
those are some.
what if you sort of want to get up and go have a pee or something?
Okay, that's fine. I mean, you can go up and go to the bathroom and do that, as long as you can, go back to bed and fall asleep. The other tip I want you to remember is, after you get into bed and you're doing your ritual and you're going to bed, it takes you about 15, maybe 10 minutes to fall asleep. There's certain stages. After 20 minutes, if you're not asleep and you're just
Mhm.
laying there, adrenaline kicks in. So you've got to get up, go to a room, and start reading with a dim light. Only go back to bed when you're nodding off. Those are
Mhm.
really important, because otherwise you're going to end up not sleeping. You're going to look at that clock. How many of us look, oh, it's 2 a.m. and then you turn around, 2:15, and you turn around, 2:30, and by the time you keep doing that,
Yeah.
it's time to get up, and then you've got no sleep.
Mhm.
And it's super dangerous to drive. They say that sleep deprivation, not having sleep for more than 17 hours or so, even more than 10 hours, is like being intoxicated, and actually not having that ability to use the brakes, or, have that reflex. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Reaction.
super dangerous to
Yeah.
drive when you're sleepy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, those are some good tips. Any others that you want to share?
I'm just
I know
thinking
you
that
had a whole list of them.
right. So you want to make sure that you want to keep your routine consistent. You do at least 30 minutes to an hour for winding down. You want to use soft music, maybe light stretching. You want to read a little bit, relaxation exercises, and you want to keep the room dark. You don't want to have any lighting, because lighting can hinder the production of melatonin, and that hormone melatonin actually creates the body creates this to facilitate sleep. So I think the mental connection between being in bed and actually being asleep, it should happen within 20 minutes. That's important. Healthy diet,
Mhm.
of course, light daylight exposure. We talked about that. Physically
Mhm.
active. You want to not to eat spicy meals at night, late at night,
Mhm.
3 to 4 hours before you go to bed. You don't want to have a heavy meal, because that's going to, restrict your, kind of constrict your, relaxation in your stomach.
Mhm.
Um, and establishing your mind that you're linking sleep to being in bed. I think that's the best way to come up with, linking those two in your mind. That's why I
Mhm.
say 2 weeks of establishing this routine will get you in a rhythm. You won't even need an alarm clock.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
amazing. I've done it. Bedding is important. Pillows, comfortable pillows, a good mattress, a cool environment. Temperature wise, you want it between, research says 70 degrees or 72. Blockout lights. Some people use eye masks. Noise. You want to make sure there's no noise. If you need to use earplugs. I
Mhm.
usually like lavender smells, like calming smells, and that
Mhm.
gives you a positive space for sleep.
Yeah.
So sleep hygiene's not the same for everyone. Your environment and your habits can be optimized for better sleep, but everybody, it varies on the type of person they are, right? So
Mhm.
it's important to know that sleep hygiene's not always going to resolve your sleeping problems. If there is a problem, like snoring, or if you believe you have sleep apnea, then
Yeah.
please get it checked out, because it's important to, if you need CPAP, then please go and get it. It's going to improve your quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to a physician or a nurse practitioner or somebody that can help you if you're having daytime sleepiness or severe sleeping problems. Because there
Mm-hmm.
are people that have insomnia that are it's very
Yes.
difficult to work with. But with time, we can improve that. And there are ways to talk to
Mm-hmm.
professionals about that because it's so important to get that quality sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to, I think the strongest message, have a bedroom environment and daily routines that promote consistent, uninterrupted sleep. Those are the most important. Stable sleep schedule. Make your bedroom comfortable. Following relaxation pre-bed routine. Building healthy habits, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
all during the day, that can all contribute to healthy sleep and ideal sleep hygiene. That's the
Mm-hmm.
website I use is called the National Sleep Foundation, and
What
it's
was
a
that
really
again?
good National Sleep Foundation, and they have a
Mm-hmm.
wonderful plethora of important topics that you can go to. I use it a lot for my sleep hygiene tips.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about the with the pandemic. They talk about how people have gotten so anxious that their sleep has gotten disturbed. So
Mm-hmm.
in my website, you'll see a whole article I wrote about the pandemic and sleep. That's a whole
Mm-hmm.
different issue because people are
Sure.
now working from their bedrooms.
Yeah. That can't be good, can it?
Excuse me.
So,
No.
well, obviously you
Well, it
recommend
can.
working, having a
Yeah, it
separate
can
room.
if you separate the bedroom and your office. It's super important to separate those two.
Mm-hmm.
You can still do it, but you don't want to have your laptop in bed and working that way. You want
Mm-hmm.
to have a separate boundary. So bed is sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, I found just applying that, turning off the technology, because I'll do that now. Actually, I do it 2 hours before I go to
Good.
bed. So
That's
I shut it
fabulous.
I shut it off, and then what I do then is an hour before. Then I'll make my notes. I'll write down all the things I have to do the next day. So all that stuff is not in my head. It just gets it off my head onto a piece of paper, so I
Perfect.
can drain my brain, so to speak,
Yes.
and not think about all the things I have to do the next day. So that
That's
helps a
impressive.
lot.
That's
Mm,
impressive, Linda. I'm very
yeah.
impressed.
So just
And
doing that alone has helped me.
awesome. You see,
Mm,
these are things that people don't realize that we can do, which will, I'm telling you, I've done them and my sleep quality is so good now. I have
mm,
tweaked it to the point where I have to, my body starts shutting down, if you will. I'm like a
mm,
9 to 5 person. My work is 9 to 5. I wake up early. I already start winding down by 8, 9. So it's like 9 to 5. I get up at 5, 6. So my body has now gotten that rhythm. And
yes.
I've noticed if I go somewhere else or if I'm in a hotel and I'm traveling or things like that,
Yeah.
I still do the same pattern, even if I'm in California, which is 3 hours difference, time difference.
Right.
But
Does that affect you though, the time difference?
it can, like if you're flying overseas, it can.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, now with COVID and the pandemic, we weren't allowed to. But as people go back to traveling, sleep, you do get sleep deprivation that way. But of course, catching up is okay. I mean, you're going to have to just, when your body's tired, that's when you sleep. You don't
Mm-hmm.
want to fight because your body will win. I mean, there's
So
nothing worse.
how do you deal with it then, if you do have sleep, not
Jet
sleep
lag.
deprivation, but you've got jet lag, you've gone to different time zone? How do
Right.
you get back into the rhythm quickly or
It,
sort that out?
what's recommended is to actually try to go to your sleep pattern like you are normally doing it, and eventually tuck back an hour or two to the time frame. So, in other words, you'd be going to bed a little bit earlier, right, than you're normally going to bed, and then getting up later. So, you have to kind of tweak it. It depends on what part of the world you're at.
Sure.
Obviously, if you're in Australia, it's a whole day.
Whole day.
So that's a hard thing to adjust to. It
Sure.
does, like, even when we have daylight savings time, have you noticed yourself sleeping differently or feeling differently?
Mhm.
I know the
Yeah.
UK had theirs last week, right?
Yes. And you had yours 2 weeks before, didn't you?
Correct. So my tip for that is I should have probably touched base on that for you, but you want to start 3 days ahead, and you want to start going to bed an hour earlier. And that's how
Ah,
you shave that time. That's very important. So you get up, a little bit later, but you shave off that time. So as you get through the week, you have that established. It does take a week or two to get used to it. So just
mm-hmm.
remember that. And the
Mm,
first day, they find that not with so much daylight savings, but the other where we have to fall back, there's been a lot of reports of accidents the first day because people are just not used to that time frame.
sure.
So just be aware of that, and be
Mm-hmm.
careful driving.
Mm-hmm.
Driving and accidents when you're sleep deprived, it can cost thousands, or if not billions of dollars in lives, especially
Sure.
with nurses in the hospital. I know myself, with my mom was in the hospital. They were doing double shifts, and I caught a nurse actually napping, and I was appalled, and I said, "You can't do this."
No.
So they asked me to talk to the nurses, and it did help them because, my heart goes out to those poor people, the heroes that have to be there, and they don't have
Mm-hmm.
enough help, but they have to work, taking care of our loved ones, and so, that was my mission. That was my goal, is to help nurses and teachers and firemen, policemen, people like counselors that help others, because those are the people that need to take care of themselves.
Of
Super
course, 'cause they're
important.
they're looking after everybody else, so they need to
Right,
be on top form, don't they?
right, right.
Yeah.
And you don't want any errors in the hospital, especially
Oh,
medical errors. That can cost a loved one's life. So
indeed.
these are very important issues that we
Mhm,
touched, and I'm hoping that I can reach more people with my message of
mm.
good sleep, good health, good life. It's
So
much more
what are
than
your
just a luxury.
so what are your sort of plans to expand or
So
promote what you're
what I'm
doing?
doing now is I eventually am going to be teaching virtual courses, but right now I have a YouTube channel that I do lives, just tips and things and discussions about relationships, and how relationships and loneliness, especially with this pandemic, can cause sleep deprivation. Those are really important. There's a lot of anxiety and depression linked to sleep deprivation, and the other way around, sleep deprivation linked to anxiety and depression. So that
Mhm.
whole thing is a whole show on
Vicious,
itself. Yeah.
cycle as well.
Yeah. And so we
Mhm,
talk about that. I also would love to, I'm working on a retreat in Sedona, Arizona in
mhm,
October called Healing for Healers. And I want people that, again, experience that relaxation, meditation, maybe do sound bowls and massage and hiking, and, sharing of stories around the fire, and using that backdrop as the beautiful red rock of Sedona, getting
mhm,
spiritual guidance, and letting one really relax into their
mhm.
soul, because my website is called Sleep for the Soul. And I
Yeah.
believe that sleep is so important for the soul. So I'm inviting people that are in the healthcare professions, and also people that just want to be part of that group to learn what it means to be healthier and live a longer life.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
that's my next project. And then I'd like to offer virtual courses around the globe to,
Yeah.
people that need to hear the message.
Indeed, yeah. Well, it's certainly something that many people need to hear about. Indeed, especially those, as you say, in the medical profession, because you don't want to see mistakes done there
Yes.
at all. Yes.
Yes.
So you'll share with me your PDF on your tips
Yes, I will.
that
I
I
will
can
send
give
it to
to
you.
others.
Absolutely. Yes.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
I have I can give you a nice little outline of all the sleep tips that I've come up with through the years that will
Okay.
help your viewers, and you can put that up for them.
I can.
And
Yeah.
yeah, they can link that. I will do that for you today.
Okay. Well, I know you're a busy lady, so I will let you go on because the time has
Yeah,
gone.
this was
Uh,
fun. Yeah.
yeah, this is great. I really appreciate your time spent
Thank
today.
you, Linda. This is a great program. I'm so happy I met you and
Yeah,
found you through just kind of. I think what you're doing is really. I'm in awe, and I love what you're doing. I think you're bringing really great quality programming to people that, that need these topics, and you've got
yes.
some amazing interviewers. So I appreciate that, and thank you so much for having me.
You're more than welcome. Well, I'm on a mission, especially to help women and menopausal women at that, because I
Yes.
think we need to help the most because we're carers. We're trying to help others, and
Yes.
yet we don't even have the fuel enough to help ourselves.
Correct.
We're lacking so much ourselves. So
I think if I
I
come
think it's
back, I'll do menopause and sleep. How's that? We'll
excellent,
touch base
excellent.
for
Yeah, yeah,
menopausal women, and we can talk all about hormonal things and ways could help these women get through a
and
better quality.
and if you have any tips on fibromyalgia and how to deal
Myalgia.
with that. Yeah.
Okay, we'll
So let's
do.
book that in. We'll get
Okay.
that going and we'll have you back very, very soon.
Okay, Linda. Have a wonderful day and evening.
Yeah.
Stay
You too.
safe. All
Okay.
righty. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. So that was Kristina Grabnickas, and she was sharing some wonderful tips with us, and she will have those available for us on PDF. So if you want that, you can email me on strictlyhealthyuk@gmail.com, and I can get those tips out to you. That's strictlyhealthyuk@gmail.com, and I'll get those out to you. Now, coming up next, what's coming up next? Well, we have some really great guests coming up next time. One of them is Paul Weber's coming again to share some of his tips on tech, as well as we have an excellent guest coming up. Sarah Nystrom will be talking about body language, and I've heard this before, and she is excellent with her tips. So, want you to join me then, and otherwise, see you next time, 4 p.m. GMT, and that is every Thursday. Bye for now.